What if you could earn $150,000 more per year as a business coach and strategist from one relationship? Think about it. You hear all the time about developing and starting and or growing a successful business coaching practice, and you hear a lot of things that quite frankly become noise. They become distractions. Post on social media all these different times, upload 5 videos per week, do all these different things. And a lot of it ends up just being clutter, noise, time wasting measures, and so on. Now, let me be very clear. Those things like social media, like doing workshops, like posting, creating a YouTube channel, and so on, are obviously necessary and they work, but those are mostly needed and necessary for those that are building seven-figure businesses, okay? So if that's not you, then why would we want to emulate activity that's not necessary for 85% or more of business coaches who are looking to make between $150,000 to $250,000 a year? And again, your number is your number, and your provision and what you need to feed your family and what you're looking to try to do for legacy is just for you. But when we look at the average, we see it all the time, where those they're circling that 150 grand or more, they're doing a lot of the activity that somebody's trying to build a seven-figure business is doing. And so, like for instance, for Business Coach Mastery, the business that I have, our network, we've trained hundreds of coaches over the years in developing a successful business coaching practice. Yes, we use paid lead gen, meta ads, Facebook and Instagram and so on. But that's not for the average person. But we see it all the time where someone's learning how to do, paid ads on Google, on YouTube, on Facebook, on Instagram. And when you're needing to earn just 150 grand or more, here's the cool thing. You don't need to do any of that. You literally can build 150 grand a year or more from one relationship. I'm going to break that down as to how that works. It's actually so ridiculously simple. That's the reason why most people believe, that's just too simple. I'm going to go do something complicated. Because we have this idea mentally that if it's more complicated and it's more time consuming, I see others doing it, then surely I must do it as well. Okay. So here's the simple framework that you can, regardless if you're starting out brand new, maybe you've been coaching for a year and you've got several clients, and maybe which is very often, maybe you also own a business, or you're a CPA, you're a financial planner, maybe you own a digital marketing company, whatever, and you've combined coaching, right? But you're looking to potentially, as a professional, you're looking to either improve or increase what you're earning in that vertical, or you're looking to actually move to it exclusively. Perhaps you're an SVP in a company. Maybe you've been a CEO or in chief work over the years, and you're trying to figure out, how do I transition, if you will, into business coach? You feel drawn, you feel called to it. How does this work? And you get overwhelmed because you're like, I don't want to post on Facebook and Instagram and so on. Well, you don't have to if that's the lane that you want to take in what you want to earn. And so here's how the simplicity works. Number one, you're going to access your current personal network. Let me explain what I mean by that. I use the term all the time, sphere of influence. These are the people that and they already know you, they already like you, and they already trust you. But here's where people make the mistake. They misunderstand the sphere of influence to thinking that it's business owners only. And it doesn't have to be that. That first relationship can be anyone in your network: neighbor, friend, relative, past colleague, your personal banker, your insurance broker. Doesn't matter. Or it could be somebody who owns a business. So here's how it looks. If it's somebody in your network that already owns a business, then yes, you can engage them directly to say, hey, let me help you with strategy work related to growing your profitability, your leadership, and your culture of your business. So they could be potentially client number one. That's one version to do it, which we certainly would encourage you to have a conversation like that. If you have someone in your sphere that owns a business, and it doesn't really matter the size, but quite frankly, but that's a different conversation. But they certainly can be client number one, or it could be someone in your network who knows a lot of people. And here's the reality: everybody knows a business owner and multiples thereof. You do as well. And so if it's somebody that's not a business owner, we're going to ask them 2 questions. We're going to show them what we're doing. We're going to kind of share the passion and the purpose of why strategy work and guiding businesses for profitability, for leadership and culture matters. But the bigger thing is we're going to say, who in your network do you know who owns a business and either A, they've been challenged, they've got some challenges going on and they need some help and they kind of, they're looking around the corner maybe to the upcoming year and they're not sure how that's going to look, or and they need help, or they're doing good, that you could put them in the good category, but they would love you to be doing a lot better. They would need some help too on how to scale because they just kind of keep hitting the same ceiling, and we call it the law of the lid. They hit that lid, they don't know how to go on, and that ends up being the definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over, expecting something different to happen. So our current network, we're either A, we're going to go right at a current business owner that we know, or B, we're going to go to someone in our network to introduce us. All right, so there's step number 1 in relationship number 1. Either way, one of those relationships at some level give us client number 1. Okay, one relationship, one client. The average coach charges around $2,000 per month for one-on-one coaching. Yes, there's lots of ways to coach. Group coaching, hybrid coaching. We're not going to get into that for context. And this is what I did, by the way. I failed to mention that. Early on, years ago, it wasn't the first 5 clients, but in a new season that I was moving into, 5 clients came from one relationship. Okay, this is what I'm explaining. So client number 1, we're just going to assume we're going to charge them $2,000 per month, and we want to keep them for a minimum of a year. The average that I've kept clients was between 4 and 5 years. One of our coaches on our team, he's got several clients that are over 10 years, but we always want to plan for a minimum of a year. All right. Here's what we're going to do though, and this is the simplicity that most people miss. In bringing them on, we want to, in the beginning of that relationship, begin to share, hey, listen, let's partner together so that we can create a win-win scenario. All right. So you're talking partnership language with them. Yes, they're paying you as a client, but here's what you're going to do. You're going to share your heart. I'm looking to grow my business and I'm looking for one additional client. Here's what I'm willing to do. There's a couple of ways that we can do this. The most simplistic is if you will introduce me, and I'll give you a template, we'll make it simple, but if you'll introduce me to a few folks in your network that own businesses, and I get a chance to talk with them, I'm going to give you the very first month of that, which is $2,000. So essentially what you're saying is, I'm not going to charge you for the first month in some regards. You can set it up how you want to. You can say it that way, or you can simply say, I'm going to give you the first month, which is $2,000. The point is, a lot of people, they want the referral, but they aren't willing to pay for it. So you write that down. They want the referral, but they're like, oh, but man, that's $2,000. You must think long term. You must think the long game. Okay. So client number 1, who's already paying you $2,000, that's $24,000 a year. Now you're talking in partnership terms with them, and you can do a couple of things. You can do a workshop together. You could do a sit-down power lunch with 5 of their folks. They can invite. You can encourage them. It's kind of like a workshop content, but we call them power lunches. So you don't have to do presentations. You don't have to do all the distractive work that sometimes just isn't necessary. Regardless, though, they're going to introduce you to enough people to where you get client number 2. Perhaps you see where this is starting to go. With client number 2, you're going to ask the same thing. So essentially, part of your strategy in growing your business, we start with, in my sphere of influence, I'm going to sit down with my network and I'm going to find client number 1. And it's either they are already on a business or they're going to point me to someone. And as I get client number 1, part of my strategy is to get the next client from that initial client. When I get client number 2, I'm going to do the same thing and I'm going to rinse and repeat. Now, obviously, any one of your clients can point you to another client, but most people don't ask, and they don't ask because they don't have a strategy. And that simple strategy is to simply share your heart. Where I'm looking to grow. I'm looking for one more client. Here's what we can do. We can create a win-win scenario. You introduce me to several of folks in your network. When they become a client, I'm going to give you the very first month, which I charge a minimum of $2,000. All right. So you've got some skin in the game. They've got some skin in the game. And clearly, there is no one wrong way to do anything when it comes to coaching. So you can modify this to fit better the way you do things. But the bigger point is this. You can see right there, 6+ clients gives you 150 grand a year when you're charging $2,000 per month per client. Now, you might decide to do some hybrid things where you're charging $1,000 where it's, part group, part. That's fine. You can do all that, but I just wouldn't encourage that yet, because you may not need to do it, because in doing so, you decrease your fees and you add more stuff to the process. You are increasing potential distraction in the beginning, in the either the very beginning of your journey, and when you are expanding the beginning of your journey, or you're expanding your journey. In other words, you may have 8 full-time one-on-one clients and you want to expand your earnings, and you're like, but I don't want any more one-on-one. Well, obviously group coaching, where you charge maybe $9.97 a month, but you're doing 1 call per week, and you can put 10 people in there, and you can see where that scales. But that's harder to scale that in the very beginning quicker, and that's where a lot of folks run out of gas. They get overwhelmed, they get frustrated. I'm a big believer in making it simple. Get your first client, get your next client from one. So what happens is everything started with one relationship. And that is way more simple to process, to build, than it is to go after clients over here, clients over there. Yes, it all works. Yes, you can do that. But my encouragement to you is to process it simple. Okay. So that's the word, or let's modify that, simplicity. That's the word I would encourage you to kind of make your word as you build. Again, doing it for 10 years. We have one of our coaches who's been coaching for more than 10 years, and that's the question they have right now. I want to scale and sustain. What's the strategy? And my answer was simplicity. And simplicity has different, shapes and colors and stuff. But if we don't start with simplicity, I promise you, you will end up with the opposite, with this complexity. And so when you're looking for one client today, if you're starting out in the beginning, or maybe you only have 1 or 2 clients, you want to grow, you start going after one client. And my next strategy is getting my next client from that client. And you daisy chain it to whatever you're looking to build. But again, 6 clients gives you that 150 grand a year. Your number, you may charge 3 grand or 5 grand. Those things obviously are going to shift. Hope that makes sense to you. The bigger thing is make it simple. Stop doing distractive work. Don't you see someone on a Monday doing that, I start doing that. On Friday, I see somebody else doing this, I'll start doing this. That's going to overwhelm you and cause you to be extremely distracted, and it's just not necessary. Okay. If you're curious, if you've been peeking at our resources, you're curious how this works as a Christian professional, there's probably a link somewhere, either where you find this video, or you can go to businesscoachmastery.com, get some resources for you, and schedule a quick Explore the Systems chat of our Done For You system that can help you do this very thing. Okay. Until next time, take care.